Hi. So basically, right now we have discussed growth in plants, and we said that the growth in plants is open and indeterminate. Indeterminate, right? Okay. Now we have discussed about the growth in plants, and we said open and indeterminate. Open means open, new tissues can be added, right? This is what we had discussed. New tissues can be added. And indeterminate, if you remember, we said simple permanent tissues can be replaced by secondary tissues, right? So this is what we had discussed. Now, growth in animals. Now this is very, very simple. Growth in animals. Here we have written open, here we would write it is closed. Okay. Open means new tissues can be added. Closed means new tissues cannot be added once the growth of the body is complete, or the growth of the organ or organ system is complete. Okay. And it is determinate. Once the structure of liver is complete, the various regions of the liver would grow proportionately, right? But it would not happen that within liver some other organ or some foreign tissue might develop. Okay, right? So basically we say growth in animals is closed, and growth in animals second is it is determinate kind, right? Okay. Now, similarity in growth of the animals and plants, or basically the growth of multicellular organisms. This is a small topic again, and we'll be discussing this. Okay. Similarity in growth of animals and plants, it is the multicellular organisms. Now see, initially there is a zygote, right? We are discussing here sexual reproduction, you can say. Okay. Now when the sperm and egg fuses, a zygote is formed, right? Okay. Now the zygote, it develops into what? It forms an embryo. Okay. And this is achieved by cell division, right? So cell division leads to the formation of the embryo. Okay. Now the embryo develops further. Right? Now when this happens, that the zygote is being developed into embryo, and the embryo develops further to form the body, right? When this happens, initially in the first step, geometrical growth is seen. Geometrical growth. Now what does this mean? There is a cell, the cell forms two cells, okay, by division. This would happen. Now each of these cells would divide. So basically there would be 4 cells, and each of the 4 cells, if divided, what will happen? There would be 8 cells. From this 8 cell stage, there would be a 16 cell stage, right? Is it so? There are 2 cells, 2 plus 2, 4, 2, 2, 2 and 2, right? This cell is dividing to form 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? 2 and 2. So basically 4 cells. Now 4 cells, 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now if this happens, it is known as the geometrical growth, okay, right? This is in the first step, okay. Initially what happens is, when the zygote this could be the zygote stage, and this is the embryonic stage. This is also the embryonic stage. This is how the embryo is passing through various cell stages. This is embryo, this is embryo, this is also embryo, and so on, right? Now when this is happening, all the cells are dividing. Okay. In the second step, what happens is, we say there is arithmetic growth. What we say is, what kind of growth is there? There is arithmetic growth. Okay. What do we actually mean here is, now let us suppose we have a population of certain cells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's suppose. Now, some cells divide, right? This cell is dividing, then this cell is dividing, then this cell is dividing, this cell is dividing, and so on. Okay, right? This cell is dividing, but the rest of these cells, some cells, they do not divide. So you can write it as, some cells divide, some do not. Okay. What happens to these cells? Those who do not divide, there is a possibility that these cells differentiate. And get locked up in a particular state. In a particular state, which means that they have become permanent and then they would not change. Okay, like the nervous cells, the neurons, okay, the muscle cells, such cells, they do not divide. Now in the chapter, the second unit, the third unit, the cell, there is a chapter, cell division. In that chapter you would be studying cell cycle. Now these cells which are not dividing and are arrested in a particular state, right, such cells are said to be in a phase known as the G0 phase. So if I include the data from that chapter, I would write here as G0 phase. The cells are now in G0 phase. Okay. Now, and some which are not dividing might die. Okay. Right. The third fate which can be seen is they might get stored. At certain locations, at certain sites in the body. Like for example, the bone marrow cell. The bone marrow cells, or simply you can say the stem cells. The stem cells. Now these cells divide periodically, but they do not show a rapid division like this. Okay, so this kind of growth is known as arithmetic growth. What is the meaning of arithmetic growth? When only some cells divide. Okay, so this is the kind of growth that we have seen, which is similar, we have seen as a similarity in the animals and plants or the multicellular organisms, right? They show two kinds of growth, the geometrical growth and the arithmetic growth. Okay, fine, right? And this is all about growth. Okay. Now, the second characteristic of living things that we were studying, we mentioned, was reproduction. Okay. Reproduction is defined as a cyclic phenomena. It's a cyclic process. It's a cyclic phenomena of production of new viable viable and fertile offsprings, okay, or young ones. They are new, right? Viable. They are capable of surviving, viable, viable, and they are fertile. They should be able to carry out this cyclic phenomena. Simply you can say the parents, the offspring become parents, okay? The offsprings become parents. You have studied this in 10th and further detail would be there in your 12th class. Okay, there is a complete unit, reproduction. Okay, so you have got this basic idea what is reproduction. Now, when we say the living things reproduce, okay, is it just the living things that reproduce? No. Organic molecules like proteins and DNA also reproduce. A DNA molecule, okay, let us suppose there is a DNA molecule. It has two strands, okay, bound to each other. Now these two strands, they separate in such a way can you see what is happening? These two strands got separated. Now this strand is here and this strand is here, okay? The strands are thread-like structures, okay? Now, on these strands, a new strand is formed, and these two are now the new DNA molecules. Right? So, if you consider this as a parent DNA, due to the contribution of this, new DNA molecules are produced. Okay, so you can say DNA can reproduce. Proteins. Now, there are certain infectious proteins I'm just trying to give you evidences because of which we can say that organic molecules like proteins and DNA they can also reproduce. Okay, there are certain proteins, infectious proteins called prions, Prions, prions. This is also there in your NCERT. It's given in the second chapter, biological classification. When there is virus topic, there it is given. Okay, certain infectious proteins called prions can multiply. Okay, these are infectious, right? These produce diseases. Like, for example, mad cow disease. Which is also known as the spongy, SPONGI, spongy form encephalitis. CEPHALITIS, encephalitis. Okay, spongiform encephalitis, right? This is in humans. This is also known as Kuru disease, KURU, Kuru disease. There is another name on the name of scientist, CJD, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Okay, CJD or CJ disease. Right, this is caused by prions. There is another disease which occurs in sheep, scrapie, SCRAPIE, scrapie disease in sheep. So basically these are the evidences when you can say reproduction can be carried out by certain organic molecules as well, right? So reproduction is a cyclic phenomenon of production of new viable and fertile offsprings. Let me just write it once again. I think this is phenomena of production of new VIABLE, viable and fertile offsprings, or the young ones. When the offspring become parents, call this phenomena as reproduction. Okay, and reproduction is not just a property of living things. Like in the previous lectures, I had discussed what are characteristics, right? And when we say characteristics, right, We define characteristics as certain features or properties which are used to describe something conveniently. Okay, so right now, when we use convenience, we might use certain words for better understanding or efficient understanding, right? So we might use the words or certain features or character or properties